There you go. See, now it's live. Okay, look, take three. We've been, yeah, 4, 5, 3. But, it stopped with the things again. But we're going to do this. Okay, so the last time that we did this live with the CJO, we went to see Bruce Lee movie. And everybody, they saw a different side of you, CJ, that they have never seen before. They loved it. They never knew that you could smile and laugh and joke and play because you always look like that.
Like
See, look at him.
Else.
Yeah, why does he gotta look like that, CJ?
I'm not smiling anymore.
You're not smiling anymore? But what I wanted to talk about today was a couple of things outside of movies. Brother Ronald Show, I don't know if a lot of people have ever seen this mathematical fighting pattern that you created and the history of it. So what made you think about, because was it Ed Parker's original patch, the Kempo patch?
I don't believe Grandmaster Parker invented that patch. It was a patch that has been for some time. It's called a universal fighting pattern. And I patterned our pattern after the universal fighting pattern. It has the same information in there. It's just delivered in a different way of my understanding as to how to deliver the information that's within our pattern. But I got that information from the fighting pattern from Ed Parker. And Cedro Alfaro had it placed on the floor in one of his schools, and he had me to get on a pattern and start making movements. And I found out from that day I was using many of the movements that were within that pattern, and that's when I found out. I said, man, if he's got a pattern, if there's a pattern called universal pattern, why can't I create my own and use the same principles as he did and his fighting pattern? And so I did. One day maybe I'll be able to write it down, or will write it down, and present it to the world as my science for my universal fighting.
Oh, yes, sir. And your science is a mathematical fighting science. Explain that. Why is it mathematical?
It's mathematical because all things that come into existence is through a mathematical code. So it could never be less than a mathematical science for fighting. But I picked up the speed of thought. I picked up the angles just by reading actually the Bible. And it had two angles in there that says 45 and 90 degrees. And those are the best angles to use or build off of. It's 45 and 90 degrees. So I built my fighting science off of what I read in the Bible, but also what I read in the Holy Quran. So, and I found that when you have a fighting science, if you use the knowledge of perfection, like I say, 100% true, accurate, and precise, if you use that science of what I just said and try to perfect that or bring it into perfection, then your science for fighting can be perfected.
Some of the things that you teach on every day to us are speed of thought. What is the speed of thought? What is the purpose of constantly drilling into our minds the speed of human thought?
Because the average speed of human thought is 24 billion miles per second. That's average. Now, if you understand that the brain can think that fast, because when I'm speaking to you now, you're hearing what I'm saying, but you're translating it at the same time. That tells you there's no delay between thought and action. There is none in fighting. That thought is the action. So when you fight and you ask your hand to move, as soon as you say it, the hand should be able to move and match what you were asking the body to do. But you must train it to do that. It just doesn't do it on its own if you want it to function in that way. You can either think faster than 24 billion miles per second, or you can think slower. Someone asked me on the Facebook the other day, where did he get that from? Because he said the fastest moving object that he know about is the speed of light, which travels at 186,000 miles per second. But that's not true. So what I would like for you to do, like I did, I studied and researched until I came up with this information. Do the same.
Yes, sir. And you teach on brain sight and the difference between brain sight and eyesight. Talk on that a little bit.
Well, everyone, when you...
It hurt your hand. That's why I kept moving around. I told you. Good.
When you ask people, what do you see with, they will say, the eyes. In fact, you see with the brain and not the eyes. And once you understand that you see with the brain, then you begin to understand when you look out, the brain sees everything that is in front of it. That's how you recognize what color a car is, difference between the house, this house and that house. That's how you go in a neighborhood, because if you couldn't remember what a house looked like, you could never find what you're looking for. So the brain records that. But when you use the use of brain sight in fighting, the brain has the ability to brain sight to pick up what?
Any and all movements.
Any and all movements. And that's what you want your brain to understand. But not only that, you want it to understand that. What does that stand for?
Distance, angles, timing, and targeting.
Distance, angles, timing, and targeting. That you need to be able to master the science of fighting, because all fighting has a distance, it has angles, it has timing, and it definitely needs to have a target. And people say the target is the body. It is, but you must target the target, which means that you must have specific areas that the brain pick up and target. And that brain will absolutely pick up the best targets according to the order in which it can be attacked. And in some cases, we have targets that you can hurt. There are targets in which you can break. There are targets in which you can maim, and there are targets in which cause what?
Death.
Can cause death. You can pick those targets according to what you want to do to your opponent at an average speed of 24 billion miles per second.
Or instantly.
Which is instantly.
Exactly.
So when we talk about that and we say distance, angles, timing, and targeting, each of those has its own subject and section on it. So when you say distance, what is the correct fighting distance?
Well, I can't tell you for other people, but for our science for fighting, what is the correct distance for fighting, to start fighting?
12 inches foot to foot.
That's right. We have a 12-inch fighting science. That 12-inch fighting science is our long range. Then you have medium range, and then you have short range. Short range is 12 inches chest to chest. If I can see your feet and I can see your head, I can then fight you and pick up any movement in which you can present against me. But either closer or farther away from there, it doesn't mean I can't pick up the movement, but I cannot bring all weapons to bear. But at chest to chest, I can. I can bring every weapon that I possess. I can bring it against you. If my hands are closer than my chest is to your body, then in order for me to attack that body, to get my 12-inch fighting science, I either have to send it up or I send it down. But each one of those up and downs are either 90 or 45-degree angles.
Oh, yes, sir. And then when you say angles, what are the angles that you use in fighting?
The angles that I use in fighting, and I only use two, that is 45 and 90 degrees. Everything in between 45 or beyond 45, I'll look at it as a 45, and I will attack according to that 45-degree angle. So I want to send, some guy told me, he said, that's a 36-degree angle. I said, okay, I don't care.
Right,
you know, I still use it at a 45-degree angle or a 90-degree angle.
Right.
Okay. And then timing is the third entity. What is the timing aspect of it?
The time it is for the weapon to get to the target from the way in which you place your hands. And I noticed that most people place their hands up around their face. But distance doesn't carry more power. Understanding and knowledge as to how to deliver that power is what generates that power.
Right, so doing the Hail Mary doesn't, just pulling it, I pulled it back from downtown, and he's like, yeah.
But when you want to develop a fighting science, you also develop a hand placement to be able to deliver that fighting science. And I place my hands out in front of me at a certain distance because I'm closer to the target than you are if you put your hands up by your ear. And it doesn't mean that I'm a better fighter than you are. It means that I may be a little smarter than you are, but not a better fighter than what you are. So you have to not only be able to place your hands in the correct position. But understand, why are you placing everything? Why do you have a distance? Why do you have angles? Why do you have timing? And why do you target the target? You must understand why you have those things in place, because it will either tell me, your language really will tell me your ability to fight. When you start talking, I can tell then the knowledge in which you have of the science of fighting. It's either okay, or or it's great, or it's magnificent.
So when you say the language, that's two. We study two languages. There's the conversation language where we can have a conversation. Jedi, Jedi attention. Peace, brother. There's a conversation that we can have where I can understand your mental,
right.
And then there's the physical language, the way you stand, the way you hold your hands, the way you react to movements. Is we read the body language, and that's something that you teach on too. You want to talk about. Before we go to that, because I don't want to get off track, the last aspect of your DAT was targeting. And it was so funny because I remember the first time you said this to me, it made me think. I'm like, what is he saying? You was like, Brother Todd, you must target the target. And it sounds crazy at first, but if you think about it, you're saying you have to have a specific target in mind when you attack.
Right.
It's like a lot of people say, oh, I hit him in the body, or I hit him in the face. But where? Because the face has cheeks, a nose, right. Chin, lips, eyes. So it's the specific target that he's saying to target. Right. Correct?
Correct. And you make the weapon what?
Fit the target.
Make the weapon fit the target.
Them two knuckles.
Just like what you said about body. It's like, okay, you could just say I hit him in the body, but did you target the ribs? Did you go into the abdomen? Did you catch him in the sternum? All of the, or in the joints of the shoulders, and all of them cause a different reaction. So it's going to change, how you move through your movements.
Right.
Like you call that reading?
Reading the language of the body.
Reading the language of the body. And when you fight, the body does speak of what?
It speaks a language.
Right.
Offense,
universal language.
Counter offense, defense, and when we attack, we make
pain.
Applied pain.
So we giving them a full lesson. We should start charging them at this point. So what we did read in the language of the body. Oh, you have 4 laws of life, and when you were going on your journey to become a Sijo, and a Sijo is the creator or founder of a complete science, correct?
Yes, mine was
right.
Because of the 4 laws.
Right. Well, that's how I was going to go into it. So when you got your title of Sijo, one of the main reason why they said that you created a complete science for fighting is you had 4 laws that you live by, and those laws are
spiritual law, dietary law, fitness law, and skill law.
And the thing that I like about what Sijo does is Sijo is Muslim. But when he says spiritual law, he doesn't say Islam. He says spiritual law. Whatever your spiritual law is, that's your personal journey in the martial science.
That's correct.
So you could be a Christian, a Buddhist, or atheist, or whatever, but you need some type of spiritual law to ground you and keep your life in line.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. As well as, your individual spirit. See, because there's also like your spirit for fighting, that warrior spirit. All of that gets tied into your spirituality and developing yourself as a person, not just being able to punch and kick, but actually your self-development. All that, it's like what they say, you can actually pick up somebody's spirit or their energy from them, and a lot of times, you avoid the fight. He's like, I don't want to mess with them, like people always do with CJ.
Okay, so we got spiritual law, then we got dietary law. And your dietary law
is I eat 1 meal a day, and I have been eating that 1 meal a day for 30-some years now. And I find that it keeps me very healthy if I follow that dietary law. But the dietary law help keep you here, but your spiritual law is valuable and also helping to keep you here, your righteousness. But your dietary law is one of the most important, along with spiritual law, to keep you here
right.
and to keep you healthy. Now, you have spiritual law, dietary law, and you have fitness law. And you can have the spiritual law and you can have the good diet, and you don't get up and make no movements at all. You're still going to die earlier than if you were up making some type of movements, even if it's yoga or just doing something to keep your body mobile. And then the last one is what?
Skill law.
Skill law.
Skill.
And this was a good one too, because when you first said it, I thought the skill was your skill in the martial science, and you was like, "No, brother Todd, what is the skill law, CJ?"
The skill law is income producing law.
Yes, sir.
That's what make it 4. And when I told that to the Grandmaster, he says, "Man, that is the complete science for the science of fighting." I said, "Oh, yes, sir."
Yes, sir. All right, well, that's all we're going to give y'all today because, we...
Our arms are getting tired.
Well, not C-Joe's.
Right.
C-Joe's is sitting there hanging, chilling. Right. Now, back to the fun stuff.
Right.
So tomorrow, we're actually going back to the movies. We're going to go see American Assassin. Because we have Fridays with the C-Joe that we take him to the movies every Friday to make sure that he's not just sitting in the house, not moving around. And you know how we just talking about the fitness law? We keep him moving and keep his legs active.
They make me pay.
That's why we bring him along.
And another thing that he said too that I'm sure this contributes to it when he talks about his dietary law. Right. He eats 1 meal a day, but he doesn't eat meat. He's vegetarian. So, and how old are you now? 77?
78.
78. And can
And
still move.
Look, he threatened me. No, but it's a blessing to, like what I always tell C-Joe is one of the main things that attracted me to him is, in this walk that we do, whatever you want to talk about, we want to talk about the martial science, we want to talk about Islam, we want to talk about being black men or men in general. There's very few people that walk the walk. Right. And I was blessed to come across some brothers that when I say this brother lives everything that he says and teaches, he walks that walk. It just grabbed me, and it was funny because, with my past and the things that I've done, I've always had older people around me, but I've never had older people that I looked at to emulate. Like, man, like if I could be like him, that's a good way to be. His Islam is on point. His martial science is on point. His diet is on point. His fitness is on point. If you can see that man move, I don't know why you get shy in the camera. Right. But if you can see this man move, it's a great thing. Exactly. And it would have to be because I'm a little wild, and it would have to take a great man to tame me, to make me want to submission. Remember, that was the big argument when I first started training with him. He used to always like, "Brother Todd, you gotta submit." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You blocking yourself. Right. You're never going to get to where you want to go until you submit." Right. And it took me about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years to learn that.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, he's still on the journey, right? But he's made excellent progress, and I'm blessed to have his brother with me all the way through from white belt all the way up to black belt. Yeah, we've been striving together, and like you said, with C-Joe in the center, giving us a good example and a foundation. Because again, when you have a good spirit, you walk humbly, but there's power. It's not a weak spirit. Then, like you said, proper diet, so that because food will keep you here, but it also take you out of here. And in America, more people die of too much food than too little food. So it takes a lot of effort to keep your diet in check, and then keep your body moving, like you said, whatever your discipline is, whether it's yoga, whatever your style is, but there has to be that balance along with your skill. So like you said, an income producing skill, which today we know is like financial knowledge, because if you have a skill, you can generate income from it if you have a firm financial knowledge. So just knowing how money works and how to make it work for you, so you don't have to spend your life working for it.
Okay. And then what we're going to start doing also, because C-Joe and I, this brother don't come all the time, but we watch the fights. So we're gonna
get invited. They were just out. Matter of fact, last week I see him on Facebook. "Oh man, fight night." I'm like, "Damn." Matter of fact, y'all saw it. I said, "No invite, really?" And he just laughed.
We're gonna start giving you our analysis of the fights the day after the fights, or maybe that night. I don't know, because he gets tired. Those fights end at 1 or 2 in the morning. I have to carry him into the house. I gotta carry him into the house. But we're gonna start giving you analysis of these fights. Like we just saw the Canelo Triple G robbery.
Yeah, you're gonna see one between you and me.
But before we go, I just want to let you know, I just realized something the other day. It wasn't a robbery per se. I'm not upset that it was a draw, because it could have been a draw. I think the problem was the person put the 118 to 110, which made it so outlandish. But if she had said 115, 113, we wouldn't even be having this conversation today. So I think the fight could have been a draw. I personally think Triple G won. But to be like it's a robbery and, you know, it's corrupt, that's only because of the score that she gave. But the next, I don't know when the next fight is, but the next fight, we'll be there. The next movie, which is tomorrow, we'll be there. And then the next...
Are you challenging?
Sign off, brother.
All right. Y'all have a great day.
Peace.